A 250-watt powerful motor with speed limit within most countries' regulations, dual suspension and awesome foldable design. Sounds like Engwe finally did the perfect legal city e-bike. One way to find out whether true or not. Let's inspect.
Hey everybody, really good to meet you. I'm Michael and this is a brand new e-bike that I want to thoroughly test for you this time. The Engine X by Engwe, something I was really excited about, mostly because Engwe finally have an e-bike which is fully compliant with the EU regulations. And here we are on two tires, two very fat tires with this pretty awesome looking red color. It's time to expose all the strong sides, but also some of the weaknesses of the Engine X and figure out whether that's the right fit for you.
If there is one thing that I've learned through the years of testing, sometimes when things seem to be too good to be true, there might be some traps. This is my third Engwe e-bike that I'm testing, so not only I know well the way they build their bikes, but I'm also able to compare against the models that you already have seen in terms of reviews on the channel. The model Engine X is meant to compete with bikes like the Mate X, the Fido M1 series and similar. At the moment of making the video there are three color options: red, white and black, and the price is around €1,300. So time to find out whether the price is well justified. The unboxing procedures have been rather challenging, not because putting the bike together is too complicated, but because the sunny days in the winter are limited, and this one has been extremely windy. The package is really heavy, weighs around 38 kilograms, so if you have someone else to help you, better take advantage of that. We use the well-known technique to open from the bottom side and pull up just the cardboard. In fact, this is an idea that I saw in the comments below another video, so make sure to check all the comments below this. It's a pretty good way to read about other people's experience, thoughts or questions in regard to this e-bike. Be prepared with a knife or scissors and some patience. Engwe do a good job with adding protection to most of their bike pieces, and they're wrapped in plastic or foam. It's been really nice to see the frame being intact after all the procedures. The order of operations is pretty straightforward. Mount the handlebar first, then you have to tighten well the main screw, but my recommendation is to properly tighten it after you install the front wheel. Related to its installation, loosen the nuts and make space for what's coming next, and then just align the disc into the brake pads and tighten. Here's a remark: this is not a quick release mechanism, and if you have the option to buy one from a bike shop, better do it, because it could make the bike even smaller when going for transportation. With the front wheel mounted, make sure to well tighten the handlebar main hex screw. Install the saddle, the front fender, the pedals, the front light, and that's pretty much it. Before the first ride, check all the mechanisms, charge the battery to full, check the tire pressure, and you're good to go. Before I show you how the first weeks of riding went for me, let's see about the design, the build quality and the tech specs. As a starter, alloy foldable frame. I love the red color. Could be that you prefer another color, like the available black or white, for instance. We can see the front fork, the mid-suspension, the motor is apparently inside the rear wheel. Some of the parts, however, need some extra attention. As for the specs, there's a 250-watt motor with 55 Nm torque, detachable 13 Ah 48-volt battery, 25 km/h maximum speed, up to 100 km range in assisted mode, 20-inch fat tires, a dual braking system, front and rear suspension, LCD display, 7-speed Shimano system, and weight of the bike is around 32 kilograms.
Definitely some pretty nicely sounding specs. Could be that you have absolutely no clue about what they mean. So let's talk about these. The suspension is really nice. Actually, we have dual suspension setup, a front one and a rear one. And for a bike which is costing €1,300, that fact alone is good enough. But if we look into the rest, and Engwe kindly do not disclose absolutely everything about this e-bike, truth is that if we try to assemble for €1,300 just a regular non-electric bike, it's really going to be difficult to find and get something really good. So there definitely have been some corners cut. But the overall spec sheet is pretty promising in terms of the electrical part, because we have a fairly big battery and we have a 250 watt motor. And the fact that this bike is limited to 25 kilometers as a maximum speed means that finally Engwe have an e-bike which is fully compliant with the EU regulations. And there's a back door. As for the motor, you shouldn't be too concerned about the fact it's only 250 watts, because the torque is fairly good, rated at 55 Newton meters. Sadly, we don't have a torque sensor, and I'll talk about how exactly this affects the overall performance. And I guess now, before we go and inspect each one of the components thoroughly, I'm going to show you how to fold the bike.
Just as what we usually do in such kind of reviews, we're going to focus on most of the major parts. I traditionally inspect the motor first, and it is actually a very positive surprise. Good acceleration, decent torque. As we mentioned, the maximum is 55 Newton meters, and that's more than enough for most kind of terrains. The electronically controlled pedal assistance support is very responsive, however, there is no torque sensor, meaning that the controller will always supply the maximum available power, and the different gears only set limits to the speed up until you get pedal assistance. Mode 1 is up to 5 km per hour, Mode 2 up to 10, and respectively, Mode 5 goes as fast as 25 km per hour. Out of the box, the bike is with pedal assistance only. But good news, Engwe leave a back door to unlock this throttle mechanism and also the speed limit. Before going for such a modification, make sure to check the local regulations, because you can be fined, and in some countries these fines can be a 4-digit number in dollars. Other than that, you also count on a 7-gear Shimano shifter. Sadly, this is the cheapest Shimano model available on the market. It's noisy, not that reliable, and something you can happily replace right away with a Shimano Deore or at least a Shimano Altus derailleur. The battery capacity is pretty decent too. 624 watt-hours is gonna support your riding adventures for up to 100 kilometers, and it's gonna give you about 30 to 40 kilometers in pure electric mode if conditions are ideal. In wintertime, when it's exactly the opposite, I was getting up to 50 kilometers in assisted mode and never really got to properly test the pure electric mode, but it should be around 20 to 30 kilometers. My weight with the camera backpack is around 90 kilos, most days were windy and I was often stopping at traffic lights and similar. Range is good, better than what I get with Fido M1 in similar conditions, and it's almost the same as the E2 Pro tested last year. I really need to show you the charger. It has built-in cooling and will get your battery fully recharged within 6 to 7 hours. You can also charge the battery while it is removed from the bike. In terms of safety, brakes are a disappointment. Yeah, disc brakes, but not hydraulic, so they're noisy, inconsistent and don't feel reliable. If you go for an upgrade, you may need to think about the wiring, because the originals have an engine cutoff feature, which traditional hydraulic brakes don't have. You're going to need to either buy e-bike grade brakes or get extra sensors and do some soldering. Tires are all-terrain capable, and I think seeing this footage is a good proof to my words. In wintertime, they're a lot more stable than expected, not too bad in the summer, but I would avoid too rocky areas. Being 4 inches thick, they're superb in terms of comfort. Most tiles or paved roads feel as if I'm riding on regular asphalt. This is how good the comfort is. Of course, there is generous contribution from the suspension. I liked the mid-suspension better, because the front one is too basic, and given the weight of the bike, I doubt it's gonna perform well for prolonged periods of time. Comfortable saddle, very nice rack, the fenders are a good addition, lights too, but from all the goodies, I like the display the most. It's a monochrome display which is visible no matter the lighting conditions. If you want to see the drawbacks in a nutshell, worst one is the weight, because it's 32 kilograms and that's kind of too much. I'm also gonna list the unreliable brakes, the lack of torque sensor, the cheap Shimano Tourney derailleur used, the lack of energy recovery implementation, and the lack of a smartphone app for extra configuration and more riding details.
My personal opinion about the Engine X is that it currently is my favorite e-bike from the entire Engwe portfolio because of multiple reasons. And I believe that for the given price point of around €300 or dollars, you can't find anything better than that. Of course, if you have another opinion, you can comment down below and let me know what you think. And I'll share with you my reasons. First of all, extremely smooth riding. You're really hard to beat, and that's thanks to the dual suspension, thanks to the really fat tires. It has very decent range. It has a very responsive motor, which, although noisy, has 55 Nm torque, and that's quite enough for city riding. Fully compliant with all the EU regulations, and you can still count on the back door to unlock the speed limit and to use the throttle. And sure, it does have its drawbacks, like I don't like the brakes at all, I don't like the Shimano derailleur, which they have used, and I certainly believe that 32 kilograms are too much for the standards of 2023, but the overall package is still very attractive. Well, could be that you think otherwise, so I'll be glad to hear about your opinion. Do you like the Engine X? Do you think it could have been better and lighter and still at the same price? And do you know any other better models? So for your comments and possibly questions, you know where the section is. And as usual, more information about the product itself, a link to order it, and some ways to support the channel you're gonna find in the video description area. I'm Michael, and thank you for watching this video till the end. And probably if that's the case, you might want to subscribe for more cool tech inspections. Wish you a fantastic day, gonna see you soon.